Chennedy Carter is out. Not suspended. Completely out of the league. The WNBA didn't simply hand down a punishment. They removed her entirely. One hard shove on Caitlin Clark. And a career that took 6 years to build fell apart in only a few seconds.
Looking. Here's Clark. She fires. And it goes! She hit it!
There was no warning. No chance to make things right. Just a final decision that closed the door for good. But here's the part nobody is discussing. This decision wasn't only about what happened during that game. There is a history of incidents, private disagreements, and teammates who stayed quiet that the league never wanted people to connect. The full story began long before Clark went down. The WNBA sent a message so strong that every player in the league heard it clearly. Keep watching because what you're about to learn changes everything you thought you knew. The shove that shook the league happened during a regular season matchup between the Indiana Fever and the Chicago Sky.
Highest since 2015, and that's as far back as our records go, as round 3 between Indiana and Chicago is underway.
At first, nothing about this game seemed like it would become a memorable moment in league history. The arena was full, the atmosphere was electric, and the crowd size for a regular season WNBA game would have seemed impossible just 2 years earlier. That alone showed how much the league had grown and how important every game had become. Caitlin Clark was doing what she does best, controlling the pace, delivering pinpoint passes, and knocking down deep shots that left defenders with no answers. The Fever were gaining confidence, while Chicago was starting to feel the pressure. It showed in their reactions, their missed defensive assignments, and the frustration building with every possession Clark led. That's the part many people overlook. The Fever weren't simply winning. They were making Chicago look a step behind. And with so many people watching, that hit even harder. Then, out of nowhere, Chennedy Carter approached Clark from behind. There was no loose ball, no contested play, and no basketball reason for what happened next. Carter delivered a hard shove away from the action, sending Clark crashing to the floor.
Chennedy Carter hitting a shot, then heading over to Clark and shoulder check.
The entire arena fell silent. Not the usual hush that comes after a hard foul or a rough play when fans instantly react. This felt different. It was the kind of silence that happens when thousands of people stop breathing at once because they just witnessed something that should never have happened. A line had been crossed, one most people didn't even know existed until that moment. Players on both sidelines stood still. Coaches stopped talking mid-sentence. Even the referee's whistle seemed distant. Then the replays started rolling. Different angles, slow motion, every view telling the same story. The action looked intentional, planned, and completely unnecessary. There was no basketball reason behind Carter's move. She wasn't chasing a loose ball or defending a shot. She walked over and made a decision. A veteran analyst sitting courtside said it clearly. After covering women's basketball for 15 years, he had seen tough fouls, emotional moments, and physical games. But this was something else. There was no basketball purpose behind it. None at all. What happened next said just as much. Carter never checked on Clark, avoided eye contact, and walked away as if nothing unusual had happened. Clark got back to her feet, brushed herself off, and kept playing. In that moment, the difference between the two players became obvious. The game moved on, and eventually the final buzzer sounded. But something bigger had already started. The league saw it. The cameras captured everything. Carter's countdown had already begun, even if she didn't realize it yet. The punishment was designed to send a message. When the league released its statement, the wording was unusually firm. Carter's actions were described as a deliberate act that did not reflect the values of professional basketball.
WNBA told ESPN yesterday Carter has now been assessed a flagrant 1 after a league review.
The WNBA did not choose its words by accident. The message was direct, and everyone around the league understood exactly what it meant. The punishment was an indefinite suspension with conditions attached for reinstatement. First glance, that may sound routine. Leagues often suspend players, set certain requirements, and allow them to return once the situation settles down. But this case was anything but routine. Several sources who spoke anonymously confirmed what many people inside the league had already believed. The conditions for reinstatement were created to be extremely difficult to complete. This was not a temporary pause or a learning experience with a clear route back. The league wanted Carter removed from competition, while also avoiding the legal risks that could come with issuing a permanent ban. Instead, they created a more complex solution, a suspension that effectively works like a ban without officially being labeled as one. It was like locking a door without giving her the code to open it. The requirements included more than 500 hours of community service, a commitment that would take most of a year to finish while still trying to stay in game shape. In addition, she faced extensive behavioral evaluations with no clear end date, along with a strict probation period. Even if Carter managed to meet every requirement, her earning potential and personal freedom would still face major restrictions. One senior team executive, speaking anonymously, did not try to soften the situation with careful wording.
Kennedy actually spoke about this to her yesterday, is she's coachable.
Here is your rewritten version with the same meaning, a similar paragraph length, and no extra symbols or unnecessary words added. This was career-ending action even if no one used those exact words. The financial impact behind everything is massive and goes far beyond what most people think of when they hear the word suspension. First comes the lost contract income, then the sponsorship deals that didn't just slow down, they disappeared completely. One company that had been in serious talks with Carter's team walked away within days. In today's WNBA, where top players are finally gaining meaningful endorsement opportunities, losing that support is more than a setback. It completely changes what her future earnings could look like. Then consider the money she may never earn through future contracts, roster opportunities she may miss, and post-playing roles in coaching, media, or player development that could now be affected by the reputation attached to her name. When everything is added together, estimates suggest the total loss could pass $1.2 million, with some predictions going even higher. That amount can end a career in a league where players earn far less than NBA stars, and every contract carries major importance. The bigger question is not whether the punishment was too severe. The real issue, the one few people are discussing, is whether this incident was truly the reason or simply the final piece of a much larger situation, the last event the league needed before acting on a decision it may have already made. Punishments this detailed are not created overnight. They happen when an organization has been watching someone closely for a long time. The timeline starts in 2019 with the Atlanta Dream. Chennedy Carter entered the league as the 4th overall pick with huge expectations, strong hype, and the talent to support it all. Draft night felt like the start of something special. The Dream believed they had found their future star, a gifted scorer with elite athletic ability, defensive energy, and the explosive first step that makes coaches design plays immediately after a contract is signed. Fans were excited, the front office felt confident, and everything seemed to point toward success. But within months, the organization was having difficult conversations behind the scenes that nobody wanted to discuss publicly. A locker room conflict between Carter and Courtney Williams grew serious enough to shake the entire team. That detail matters because Williams is known across the league as one of its most positive and level-headed players. She is not someone associated with drama. By every account from people who know her, she represents exactly the kind of veteran leader young players want around them. Yet the disagreement between her and Carter nearly became physical, and one former Dream staff member described it clearly. This was not normal tension between teammates. It was the kind of situation that can divide a team from within. When a conflict reaches that point with someone like Courtney Williams, it does not stay inside the locker room. It spreads throughout the organization. It changes how coaches handle practices, how front office executives evaluate the roster, and how everyone views the future. Those changes happen quietly behind closed doors, far away from public statements and press releases. Carter's time in Atlanta came to an abrupt end before she moved to the Los Angeles Sparks for a fresh opportunity with a new organization, new coaches, new teammates, and a different city. Everything was in place for a fresh start, but the same issues kept following her. During film sessions, one of the most important parts of professional basketball where teams build communication and trust, Carter repeatedly talked over coaches, ignored their game plans, and eventually walked out of meetings altogether. It did not happen once or twice. It happened often enough that it stopped being a single problem and became something the entire organization had to work around. The Sparks tried different approaches. They adjusted, they managed the situation, and eventually they reached a decision that still surprises WNBA insiders today. They paid Carter around $90,000, nearly one-third of their salary cap, just to part ways with her. Think about that for a moment. In a league where players sometimes accept lower salaries to stay with winning teams, one franchise chose to spend six figures not on performance or a trade, but simply to move on from one player. That amount was more than a financial decision. It sent a clear message. It said that continuing with the situation was costing the team more than $90,000. Carter eventually joined the Chicago Sky. What happened next was impossible to ignore. One thing about the WNBA is that player support runs deep. The shared experiences across the league create strong bonds. When a player faces criticism or league discipline, teammates usually speak up. Statements get released, players defend each other publicly, and even those not directly involved often share their opinions. Standing together has been part of the league's culture for years. After Carter's suspension, her Chicago Sky teammates stayed completely silent. There were no public statements, no anonymous comments suggesting the punishment was too harsh, and no signs of support from the locker room she had shared all season. No one defended her, and no one hinted that the league had overreacted. There was only silence. In most situations, that silence would stand out. Within the WNBA's culture of unity, it felt even more significant, because choosing not to support a teammate after discipline is never viewed as neutral. It is a decision, and everyone inside the organization understood the message that decision was sending. Then there was Angel Reese. Throughout the season, Reese appeared to build a genuine friendship with Carter. They were seen together at team events and often interacted publicly in ways that suggested a connection beyond being teammates. Fans noticed it. Reporters noticed it. Their relationship seemed real. But within hours of the incident, Reese unfollowed Carter on every social media platform. There was no announcement, no explanation, and no public comment. No vague post or indirect message. Just a clean and deliberate separation. That single action spoke louder than any statement could have. Reese did not need to do it publicly. She could have quietly created distance without anyone noticing for weeks. Instead, the unfollow happened quickly and visibly enough that people noticed immediately. Whether it was intentional or not, the impact was clear. It showed everyone watching exactly where Angel Reese stood. And it did so without saying a single word. In the weeks before the incident, social media activity had already been hinting at a bigger story for anyone paying attention. Quiet unfollows between teammates. Vague posts about respecting the game and understanding your role. Carter's name noticeably missing from team content that included almost every other player. On their own, those details could be ignored. Together, they painted a different picture, one of a locker room that had been distancing itself from Carter long before that night in Indiana. These were not random events. They were signs from people who had been witnessing things behind the scenes. Nothing appeared in official statements, post-game interviews, or headlines until it became impossible to ignore. In the end, it all came down to 30 seconds. Just 30 seconds. A simple apology, a direct acknowledgement, or an honest admission of crossing the line could have changed everything. 30 seconds of real accountability might have completely altered the course of this story. Carter had that opportunity during the post-game press conference. She entered the room with folded arms, rolling her eyes before the first question was even asked while the microphone picked up her sighs. When a reporter asked about the incident involving Clark, Carter replied, "Actually, I'm focused on New York right now. I'm not thinking about that play anymore. It happened." She added, "It's basketball. It happened. It's over. I don't know why we're still talking about it." The room fell silent, but not in the same way the arena had earlier. When reporters asked if she regretted not addressing the situation sooner, Carter stood by her response. "No, I don't regret not talking about it right away." For many league executives, that answer confirmed their biggest concern. The issue was not simply that Carter pushed another player. It was that she seemed unable to understand why it mattered. She showed no sign of self-reflection, no willingness to grow, and no sense of accountability. One experienced reporter summed it up clearly. "I've covered many press conferences. That was the first time I watched a player end their own career in real time. The league was paying attention. When the decision came shortly afterward, nobody who watched that press conference was surprised." So what comes next for Carter? The WNBA door may have closed, but opportunities still exist outside one league. International teams, especially in Europe, have offered second chances to American players before. That may have been true 5 years ago, but things have changed. European organizations and international teams are now much more selective. Talent alone is no longer enough. Team chemistry, professionalism, and character matter just as much as skill. One agent who represents current and former WNBA players explained the situation directly. The market for players with well-known issues has become much smaller. 5 years ago, talent could overcome almost anything. That is no longer the case. For Carter, the situation is especially difficult. A highly public suspension, a history of issues with multiple organizations, and a press conference that spread widely for negative reasons all work against her. These are not things that disappear after a quick internet search. Endorsement deals that were reportedly close to completion ended immediately. Brands stepped away. Carter's name is now linked to concerns that marketing teams do not want connected to their products. When comparing the career Carter was expected to have, including contracts, sponsorships, and future opportunities, with the reality she now faces, some estimates place the difference at more than $4 million. She is only 25 years old. She had the talent to earn every dollar of that amount. She had the physical ability to build a long, successful career filled with all-star appearances and financial stability. One thing changed that path. It was not injury. It was not bad luck. It was a series of choices, and unlike injuries, choices do not heal on their own. That contrast becomes even clearer when looking at Caitlin Clark. This story cannot be told without mentioning her. Not because she was the victim, but because her response revealed something important. Clark is a rookie in her first professional season. She entered the league carrying enormous pressure, receiving unprecedented media attention, and facing huge expectations while every game was closely examined. Then she was shoved to the floor on national television. Her response was simple. She played the next game. Whenever reporters brought up Carter in later interviews, Clark redirected the conversation back to basketball, back to her team's goals. No drama, no extra attention, no attempt to fuel the story further.
First in the league in fast break points.
Clark connects on a deep three.
I'm here to compete at the highest level of basketball. Everything outside of that is just background noise. My focus is helping this team win and getting better every single day. A former WNBA All-Star watched the situation unfold and pointed out how calm Clark stayed under intense pressure. That kind of composure cannot be taught. It is a sign of leadership showing up early in a player's career. The difference between how Clark handled the moment and how Carter responded was hard to miss. One player stayed focused and returned to the game. The other entered the press conference with crossed arms and a defensive attitude. The WNBA's audience has grown by 87% compared to last year. Merchandise sales have reached record levels, and Clark has played a major role in driving that momentum. When the league decided to deliver one of the strongest disciplinary actions in recent years, it also made a statement about the direction it wants to take. Choosing that path was not a difficult decision. Chennedy Carter had undeniable talent. Her quick first step left defenders behind. She could finish around the basket, and her defensive energy was exactly what coaches want. She had all the tools needed for a long and successful career. In the end, talent alone was not enough. Without accountability, even the most gifted players struggle to succeed. The WNBA sent a clear message not only to Carter but to every player in the league. Talent may open opportunities, but professionalism is what keeps those opportunities alive. For years to come, Carter's story will be discussed in locker rooms and team meetings. It will not simply be remembered for one incident, but as an example of what can happen when growth and accountability are ignored. The league will keep moving forward. Whether Carter moves forward with it is a question only time can answer.